Ho, 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 Record Store Nation. That word has multiple meanings. Anyway, as we all know. Welcome to the Record Store. Ho, ho, ho. It is Christmas week, actually. It's Christmas season if you celebrate that. If you don't, you celebrate Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Ramadan, any of the other ones. Happy holidays to you and yours. Don't eat too much, as we always say. Words of warning: don't eat too much. Definitely don't drink too much. Be safe on the roads. And we do. I keep on forgetting to do this, but we have to thank our house band. It is Murr, It's Cold Outside with our theme song this week. So that is very appropriate, very seasonally appropriate because it's cold AF in Chicago this week, as the kids like to say. So it is definitely winter. It's here. I hope everybody has a great holiday. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. And we are ready to do our annual tradition. This is the Record Store's annual. We have a couple traditions, but this is the annual Christmas tradition where I review a Christmas album for the December broadcast. So there's not many, I gotta say, in the voluminous stack of CDs over here. There's not many to choose from. There's still one left that I haven't done yet, so I've done two now. We did Cheap Trick's Christmas album last year in 2021, and then this year it is the Goo Goo Dolls. It's Christmas All Over. One of my favorite bands. You know, we've covered them multiple times already on the Record Store, but by default, I had to pick a Christmas album this year, so I only had three to choose from. So this year it ended up being the It's Christmas All Over. There's still one left, so I got one in the tank for next year. And then maybe, who knows, I might go out and buy a couple others. Because in doing the research for this, you see that there are many Christmas songs. You know, people talk about this is a sellout. You know, is Chris is doing the Christmas songs? Everybody's so sick of the Mariah Carey song. Is doing Christmas songs a sellout for rock performers? You know, so in doing the research for this, there are tons of great artists that have had Christmas songs or Christmas albums. So we start with Tom Petty, obviously one of my goats, if not my goat altogether. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, both of them had Christmas songs. Springsteen, obviously the very famous one. Beach Boys had a Christmas song. Pretenders had 2,000 Miles, which is a brilliant song, a beautiful vocal from Chrissie Hynde. Queen, it's a smart business move. That's the bottom line. It's a smart business move. So if you want to accuse bands of selling out and doing Christmas music, they all do it. I mean, that's what I feel like. Once a band has made it, I'm waiting for like the Metallica Christmas album to come out. It may happen. Who knows? But I feel like every artist, especially big performers, big name artists, have done Christmas songs or Christmas albums. So to say Goo Goo Dolls sold out is not any worse than saying Paul McCartney sold out or John Lennon sold out or Tom Petty and these other legends of rock and roll. So anyway, It's Christmas All Over is the name of the album. It was their 13th album. Interestingly, it's the third album they did during the pandemic. They did, during all the massive shutdown time that we all suffered through. They did three albums during the pandemic. These guys just like to stay busy and like making money, for sure. They tour constantly when they are, when it's not pandemic type, periods of history. They tour all the time. So they would do an album every other year or so and do extended tours after those albums. So the fact that the pandemic shut everything down and everybody was in lockdown and there wasn't much to do and they couldn't go on the road and stuff, they got busy in the studios. So they did this Christmas album. They did the Grounded, that reimagination of some of their hits live in the studio. They did that in 2022. They also did Chaos and Bloom, which we covered that this year on the Record Store. They did that in 2022. And then they released that Rarities album too. I totally forgot about that. In 2021, they also had released the Rarities album where it was like B-sides and, live outtakes and things like that. So that makes four albums pretty much during the pandemic. So these guys definitely like to stay busy. Who knows? Maybe they were worried about their income stream because they couldn't tour and they couldn't sell merch, but they did, they did a lot of work and they did a lot of stuff. I saw them again this summer, as we talked about, and so they are happily back out on the road again. But as far as doing Christmas albums, I just think it's a smart business move. I love Johnny Resnick's voice. We've gone on record a bunch of times that I love this guy's voice. Not so much on the Robbie voice, the Robbie Takic voice. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right for you haters that think that I don't like Goo Goo Dolls. I love Goo Goo Dolls. So Just because I don't like the Robbie songs as much as the Johnny songs doesn't mean I hate the band. So get off my back. And don't say I'm mispronouncing Robbie Takic, because I don't know how the fuck else you pronounce Takic. It's only 5 letters. So anyhow, enough of my ranting. So this is what I got to say about Christmas music before we get to the album. XM is playing at my work. Sirius XM is playing at my work, and we are required to have Christmas station on. And so you go to the app, and there's a lot to choose from. There's the country Christmas station. I'm not doing that. There's the rap Christmas station. I'm definitely not doing that. There's kids Christmas stations. Not doing that. Maybe I had done Trans-Siberian Orchestra here and there, because that was like that's kind of like prog rock. You can kind of look at it like a prog rock, like Moody Blues and Yes kind of sound, just this majestic, in your face type music, the Trans-Siberian stuff. So I'll put that on from time to time, for this month. There's a classic Christmas station that does, Mariah Carey basically every other song. But I generally lean on the rockin' Christmas station, obviously. That goes without saying. The problem is there's just so much repetition. We hear that Paul McCartney song on the hour. And as much as I love Tom Petty, obviously, you hear that song, that song's on the hour too, where it's to the point now where basically all of my employees have that song memorized and they're like singing along to it facetiously. So that's my problem with the Christmas station and the rockin' Christmas station on XM, is the fact that there's just not enough variety. They rely on the same, I don't know, maybe 3 dozen songs total, and just over and over and over in the rotation. So I will say this album, which has 10 songs on it, any of this stuff could have easily made that rotation. I will say that about this album. So is it my favorite Goo Goo Dolls album? We'll have to wait and see. But I look at it as a novelty album, because obviously it's not a novelty album in the same genre as Weird Al doing novelty albums, or Gallagher or something like that, but it's definitely a novelty album in the sense that it's a Christmas album. So anyway, on this album, it's Christmas all over. The critics were mixed reviews, obviously. It seems like it would be. I don't think any critics are going to be like raving about a Christmas album, even if it's a band that they like, and nor am I raving about it, and it is a band that I like. But the critics were mixed on it, obviously. They said bland, not risky enough, too safe, kept it too close to the vest on certain of the classics that they put on this album. The classic Christmas songs that they did. So on this album, Johnny Resnick said that basically they had been asked to contribute a Christmas song to some compilation album, which I have no idea what album that is, but probably one of those, the charity albums. I forget what they're called. Christmas, forget what it's called, trying to think of it. Very Special Christmas, that's it. So, Brian, edit that out. But they were asked to contribute a Christmas song. They did. They had a blast doing it, and they decided, screw it, we'll just do a whole album of these, and we'll keep them for ourselves, and we'll put it out. So they recorded it again during lockdown. They obviously had a lot of free time, and they were bored. So the album is 10 songs long. It is only 33 and a half minutes. I would have said 33 and a third, because that would be cool and ironic, but it's not. 33 and a half minutes. It's a quick listen. There are 3 originals that they did, including Better Days, one of their previous hits that you all know. It makes sense in this context to have Better Days on here, and they did quite a different version of it, which we'll get to. The other 2 originals are called You Ain't Got Nothing This Christmas, and This Is Christmas. So there are 7 covers, most of which are some of the classics that from, all the Christmas songs that you hear over and over at Christmas time. They did release Let It Snow, sort of, as a single, more of a streaming single, so not like anything that got a ton of airplay. But I would say, the Goo Goo Dolls are definitely capable of doing a Christmas song that could get a lot of airplay. So, as opposed to Mariah Carey, and I got really kind of, honestly, like nothing really against her, but it's just, you get that overwhelming, this time of year, there's just so much repetition of hearing Mariah Carey over and over and over and 75 million times, when they could be playing some Goo Goo Dolls and some other artists that have surely done Christmas music, and quit calling me Shirley. So the package on this, it's pretty pretty no frills. It's got a purposely retro, cheesy feel to it. It's got tinsel and lights decorating a piano and microphone. Interestingly, no pictures of the band, no pictures of Johnny's face. I got in trouble for that comment last time on the last Goo Goo Dolls episode that we did. So no pictures of that. Maybe he had some work done recently to the recording of this, so who knows. But I'm gonna get in trouble for that one too. Brian, cut that out too. Anyway. The lyrics are included, so I'm happy. When you flip it over, one side of the sheet is red, one side is green. Just very corny, very cheesy, but by design. Because I know these guys have a good sense of humor. So I know that this was done with good intentions and to make some money off of it, of course, because that's what it's all about. They have a recording career that they deserve to get money, get paid for. So it was done. Some of this was tongue-in-cheek, some of it was serious, because a lot of the classic standard Christmas songs are recorded straight, like the critics said. So anyway, that is it. Let's get to the song. So the first song is Christmas All Over Again. This is the Tom Petty song that I have heard 8 billion times. So I actually did the math. I think that I hear it probably 3 to 4 times a day, because we generally have that XM Rockin' Christmas station on. So I hear it roughly 3 to 4 times a day, and I've worked pretty much the whole month of December, starting with right after Thanksgiving, with Black Friday running through Christmas, so not too many days off. So I estimate I have heard the Tom Petty version of Christmas All Over Again 90 times, at least 90 times in the last month. So as much as I love Tom Petty and worship at the altar of Tom Petty, I don't need to hear that song 90 times. I could hear American Girl 90 times. I'd probably be fine with that. Anyway, so this is them covering it. So the opening strains are it sounds like actually like kind of a cartoon soundtrack. So, and then it kind of morphs quickly into this doo-wop sound. So they pretty much stay true to Petty's song. They lean a little bit heavier here once the song actually kicks in after the cartoon and the doo-wop. They lean a little bit more heavily on the bass and the drums. It's a pleasant song, and it's a pleasant version of that song. I would have loved to have this mixed in on XM, because I love Johnny's voice, as I've said a billion times already, multiple times on this episode. I think he's got a great voice. So as much as I love hearing Tom Petty, if I would have heard that version of Christmas All Over Again 45 times, and then the Goo Goo Dolls version 45 times, while I probably still would have gotten sick of both versions, at least it would have been less sick of the Tom Petty version. So this version is whimsical. It's definitely not, when you think back on, we've talked about on past episodes, Goo Goo Dolls started as a garage band in the 80s. When you think of their roots and their origins, you don't think of songs like this. You don't think of this whimsical Christmas song that they're doing. So I followed along with the lyrics, and considering that Petty wrote it, I thought, well, maybe once I, actually focus on the lyrics and pay attention to it, it might actually have some deeper meaning. Not so much. Just a Christmas song. So pleasant song, nice way to start the album. You pretty much know what you're getting once you've heard that. It's the first song of the album. So, all right, second song is called Shake Hands with Santa Claus. It is a cover. It is a classic cover. It was written by Milton D. Lugg and Bob Hillard. So it is a cover of D. Lugg and Hillard. So D. Lugg, I did my research here, as I always do. DeLugg was best known for the theme song from, get this, The Newlywed Game and The Gong Show. And not only those classic television shows, he also did Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. So that was a movie soundtrack that he did. DeLugg did the soundtrack to Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. So I think this song is probably from the soundtrack of that album. I did not see the soundtrack list, but I'm pretty sure if he did a song, or a movie rather, a soundtrack to a movie about Santa conquering the Martians, Shake Hands with Santa Claus was probably in there. The other guy who is credited for writing it, Bob Hillard, Hillard was a journalist. There wasn't very much information about him online. So I don't know what his connection was, because it sounds like DeLugg was a musician and composer and did all that stuff for movies and TV shows and stuff. Bob Hillard was a writer. All of his credits were newspaper credits and journalist credits. So I'm not sure what the connection is. So maybe they were just friends and he threw a credit to this guy Hillard to make him a few bucks. So anyway, this one, Shake Hands with Santa Claus, very cheesy, very much like leaning on stand-up bass, and a very Dean Martin-y kind of sound to it. I'm going to reference the Dean Martin kind of loungy kind of sound throughout this whole album. So you could tell that many people were drunk during this, whether it was in the original recordings and or during this recording. There were definitely some drunk people here because there's all kinds of background noise and stuff, and people talking and making all kinds of sounds and noise. This song is pretty much everything that annoys me about Christmas music. It's just this annoying, just I don't know, just not entertaining at all. It's kind of like it eventually gets to like a big band sound. In the lyrics, there is a line, "Great big bananas," and I'm like, what? This again, this is where I'm saying people are drunk because when they were probably writing it, they were drunk. Because what the hell does great big bananas have to do with Christmas, Santa Claus, any of it? So I don't know. Bah humbug. So bah humbug to shake hands with Santa Claus in the second spot. So third song is called "This Is Christmas." It is one of the originals on this. So it is an acoustic open. It is an amazing song. It is very much. It's just flat out a Goo Goo Dolls song. His beautiful voice, what it reminds me of is Iris. It's an Iris kindness. It doesn't sound like Iris. It's not a ripoff of their own song, but it's that same very just beautiful, catchy ballad, and it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous song. And this is Christmas. This song needs the Mariah airplay. You know, if anybody, I mean, again, not casting any aspersions at Mariah, but if anybody's getting that kind of airplay and that kind of money every year at Christmas time for how many times that song gets played, these guys should be making bank off of "This Is Christmas." It's a beautiful song. It is a ballad right out of their regular canon. It just completely I mean, it happens to be about Christmas. You know, it could be about anything. It's just a beautiful song. I think the way Johnny hits the high notes on this and the way it pairs with the echoing drums in the background literally gives me chills. I think it's just a well put together, well produced song. I would very much accept this song in concert. You know, that's how good this song is. I don't care that it's about Christmas. I don't care that, you know, it would be out of place amidst all their hits at a live show. Basic message of this song is, despite life sucking, hey, it's Christmas, so enjoy this time of year. You know, it's like, I guess you could say it's, I don't know, is it depressing? They're basically saying life sucks, but hey, it's Christmas, so cheer up, smile, you know, have some fun. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it's an uplifting song from that standpoint that, you know, it could be worse. It could be Arbor Day or not Christmas. So anyway, great song. This is Christmas, great song at number 3. Fourth song is called "Christmas Don't Be Late." It is, and you've heard this, it is a cover of Ross Bagdasarian, one Ross Bagdasarian, a.k.a. David Seville. Yes, it is a Chipmunks cover. And the original song here, the Chipmunks' "Christmas Don't Be Late," won 3 Grammys in 1958 in the comedy and the children's recordings category. So this song, believe it or not, as goofy as this is with the Chipmunks singing it, that would be a novelty song, like I said, the Weird Al reference earlier. As crazy and goofy as this song is, this actually won Grammys. So I don't know, maybe they're 1958. The Beatles weren't even around by then. Stones weren't around yet. So the competition must not have been too fierce in 1958. So anyway, and interestingly, you know, we've talked about the pattern on Goo Goo Dolls albums before. This is the song that Robbie gets. Robbie Takic, and yes, F it, that's how I'm pronouncing it. I don't care what you people say. You weird Goo Goo Dolls women that attack me for saying things that are honest. So every album, you know, usually the pattern is there's 10, 11 songs, Robbie gets 2. Johnny gets the rest. So this album, there's 10 songs. 1 is an instrumental we're going to get to, and Robbie gets this one. And it's a cover of the Chipmunks, so it's very appropriate because, of course, you know, Robbie Takic gets the Chipmunks song. So because, again, the guy doesn't have a horrible voice. It's just raspy. But he's no Johnny. That's the thing. That's the comparison. It'd be like, you know, Minnie Pearl sitting in with Paul McCartney. You know, you got one with a fabulous voice, a legendary voice, and then one that is just like a goof. So by comparison. So, and meeting Robbie was a perfectly pleasant guy, really swell guy, really nice guy. But he doesn't have Johnny's voice. That's just the bottom line. He's got a pleasant voice. His voice is fine for gravelly. His voice is fine, so I'm not ripping his voice. It's not Johnny's voice. The comparison is like night and day. So anyway, so Robbie, of course, gets "Christmas Don't Be Late," the Chipmunks cover. You've heard this song, like I said, you've probably heard it a million times. He sounds like he's in a novelty song, which is what this is. It's a very orchestral, very sing-songy, you got to have a Robbie song to keep him happy, and you got to have a Robbie song on every album this effort checks all the boxes. It gives you the novelty song, gives you the Chipmunks cover, and it gives you Robbie on the album. So, all right. Fifth song on the album is Better Days. That's one of the other originals. This is the Goo Goo Dolls hit from 2005. The album was Let Love In. The original Better Days hit number 3 on the charts at the time, so got a lot of airplay, was very popular. It's been used on many TV shows. I didn't realize. I thought it was primarily referencing Hurricane Katrina on the news. They would use it a lot for footage, very sad footage of New Orleans. They would use it for that. But they used it in a lot of different, like, death tributes and stuff, and just, like, tragedy tributes. They would use it on news coverage there. Sports, a lot of sports seasons, they used it various times there. So it here, completely different version than what you're used to, completely different than the classic original that I love that song. It is a little kid singing it. They go with a piano and a little kid. And I kind of thought, it's a little kid starting it, so I thought maybe there'd be a chorus of many little kids chiming in eventually, but it wasn't. It was just one little kid that started it and did the entire song. So very over-the-top sentimental. The kid, when I first listened to it, I said to myself, kid sounds like he or she is about 6 years old. So in doing the research, the name of the child is Sydney McGorman. Sydney is the daughter of keyboardist Jim McGorman, who plays on this album and is sort of one of those ancillary Goo Goo Dolls members. He's not one of the original 2, but he plays with them on the road and stuff. So Sydney McGorman is his daughter. And she was 7 at the time, so I guess 6, so I got to give myself a little pat on the back for that. The kid struggles with the words, for sure, but that actually, in a sense, it makes it more endearing, because obviously this is an adult-written song, adult-delivered original song, and the kid struggles with it because she was only 7 years old at the time. So, but it's so sentimental, it's so just like schmaltzy. I can see people crying listening to this song because the kid is just, the way the kid struggles with the lyrics and has a nice voice for, a kid, typical choir kind of kid. But anyway, so the other interesting thing about this is that Jim McGorman, the keyboardist, wrote the theme for Big Sky. So the other interesting thing about McGorman, the keyboardist, who's the father of the little kid who sang on here, Jim McGorman, I did not know this either. The story comes full circle. Jim McGorman wrote the theme for the show Big Sky, which I keep talking about how great Big Sky is. I love that show. It's my favorite show on TV right now, in its 3rd season, and just fabulous. Just an excellent show. Just spellbinding, great detective drama, love story. It's all kinds of drama. All the drama is mixed in there, but the crime background to it. So anyway, McGorman wrote the theme for that. It's my favorite show right now. Had no idea. So very cool story. The kid singing the song is cute. Another nice novelty. It really reminds you what a wonderful song this is. What an amazing song this is. So anyway, all right, we're halfway through the album. We're going to take a break. We're going to take a time out, as they say on the sports podcasts. And we're going to pay some bills, and we'll be right back with side 2 of It's Christmas All Over by the Goo Goo Dolls, our special Christmas tribute album, or our traditional Christmas review for the December season. So we'll be right back after these. All right, we are back for part 2 of our traditional Christmas tradition. I guess that's what traditional Christmas traditions are, is traditional. And we want to thank our sponsors, of course, all the various ball creams and ball depilatories and everything that we do that relates to your balls. Men and women, whatever. Hey, it's 2020, almost 2023, so, everybody, stay clean, get clean. Anyway, I get crazy with those. I get weird with the sponsored thing, so sorry about that. Anyway, this show has to stay for the kiddos. So when I say balls, of course I mean soccer balls, because the World Cup just ended, and Jesus, was that enthralling for... No, not at all. Hey, Muñeca. Yeah, no, I don't care about soccer. Football is NFL. Get back to me. Nothing else. That's all that matters is NFL. Anyway, all right, so we're doing the Goo Goo Dolls Christmas album. It's Christmas All Over. We're on side 2. The next song is called You Ain't Got Nothing. It's the 6th song on the album. So it is another original. You Ain't Got Nothing. It's another original. Another jazzy, loungy, starts heavily on the stand-up bass again. Actually sounds like the Stray Cats. Once it got going, it sounded like the Stray Cats. So it is Johnny singing to a bad kid, basically. It's got a very Grinch type, vibe to it, because this kid has been bad. He painted the cat, according to Johnny in the lyrics. The kid painted the cat and pierced the dog's ear. So he is getting coal in his stocking, according to Johnny. So it's, again, kind of a novelty song. This is one of the originals that, I don't know, didn't do anything for me like the other original did earlier on the album. Just, again, very kind of Dean Martin meets the Stray Cats, kind of rockabilly kind of vibe to it, I guess. Big band, Brian Setzer, very Brian Setzer-y. So You Ain't Got Nothing at the sixth spot. Seventh is Let It Snow, one of the very famous, very repetitive Christmas songs that you hear a million times this time of year. It is the one that they did kind of release as a sort of a single. Obviously didn't get much airplay. Again, I would have been perfectly fine hearing this 90 times as we did the math with Tom Petty during the holiday season on XM, Sirius XM. So Let It Snow was written by Sammy Kahn and Julie Stein, and it was from 1945, so really old song, 80 years-ish old. It was written, interestingly, it was written during a heat wave in L.A., so I got the vibe it was like wishful thinking. They're singing about let it snow, let it snow, let it snow, and they're in the midst of a heat wave in LA. So they never do mention Christmas in the song. It's one of those songs that never mentions Christmas. So I think that it was like actually them trying to, on radio, on AM radio in LA in 1945, they were trying to get people to feel cooler than dealing with the 100-degree temperatures outside. So Let It Snow has dozens of covers. Frank Sinatra did it, Dean Martin did it, Carly Simon did it, and Rod Stewart also did it. So I was taken aback, looking at the lyrics. What the weather outside is frightful, and I'm thinking, is that the heat wave? Is that what's frightful? Because that seems like when you know the backstory of this song, it kind of makes a different feel to it. So this song, this version of it by Goo Goo Dolls, very cheesy. It's pure cheese, and I kept thinking, is this another one of those date rape songs? Like the Christmas song, like Baby It's Cold Outside always gets accused of being the date rape song. So is there some deep hidden meaning to Let It Snow that is also like some violent crime song? And we'll get to Baby It's Cold Outside, believe it or not. We're going to get to that towards the end of the album here. So we will come back to that song, the notorious Baby It's Cold Outside. So, all right, eighth song is Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. Obviously, another one of the classics that is heard a million times this time of year. Was written by Hugh Martin and Ralph Blaine. So that is the cover of Hugh Martin and Ralph Blaine, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. It was written for the 1944 movie Meet Me in St. Louis. I know Brian is a big fan of St. Louis, having lived there. So there is controversy here. We had controversy that we're going to get back to on the date rape song. So there's controversy, believe it or not, on Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. No, it's not a date rape song. Hugh Martin, claimed that he wrote it, and Ralph Blaine also claims that he wrote it. So he claims that he co-wrote it. So it is one of those deals where, one of them wrote it and the other one jumped in and tried to cash in on the bandwagon, so it gets played a million times a year. So obviously the controversy must have been over royalties, because Blaine is claiming he deserved credit on it. Hugh Martin is saying he wrote it exclusively himself. So Blaine was stuck. They were contractually, Martin was stuck paying him royalties for the lengths of their lives. They're both passed away now, but they had to pay, Blaine had to get X amount of dollars every time, the song got played. So Hugh Martin was not able to cash in on it entirely. He had to pay a percentage to Blaine. So controversial. So I love it. Love when the Christmas songs stir up, TMZ and stuff. So anyway, again, Johnny Resnick becomes the lounge singer on this song, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. Harmless song, again, would have been welcome hearing it over and over again on XM. The Yuletide, I am told, in Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, I'm told the Yuletide was indeed made gay. This is news to me. I heard about it on TMZ. So Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas by the Goo Goo Dolls at number 8. Ninth song is Hark the Herald Angels Sing. I can't even say it. Hark the Herald Angels Sing. So, again, another one of the Christmas classics that you've heard 8 billion times. Written by, and here are your credits, it's a cover, I gotta tell you, Felix Mendelssohn, Charles Wesley, I don't know why I struggle with that, Charles Wesley, and George Whitfield. So Felix Mendelssohn, Charles Wesley, and George Whitefield. So Wesley and Whitefield wrote the poem that this song is based on in the 1700s. Jesus, it's over 200 years old, almost 300 years old, whatever. So they wrote the song almost 300 years ago. Mendelssohn then came in 100 years later and added the music to it. So Felix Mendelssohn wrote the music to it in the 1800s. So this is amazing to me that this shit was done in the 17 and 1800s, and now it's being covered by the Goo Goo Dolls in 2021 when the album came out. So it sounds like Johnny should be in a church. It's another Johnny song, thankfully. It sounds like Johnny should be on stage in a church singing this on like Christmas Eve. So it's basically all organ and bass guitar, or stand-up bass. It's a beautiful, again, his voice is majestic. I love his voice, so he can sing anything and I'm going to like it. But yeah, just the classic old, obviously, very old school Christmas song. And Johnny doing a really nice job with it. Singing, like I said, worthy of like singing like a gospel singer and in a church choir on stage. So, all right, then we wrap up the album with the 10th song. It is called The Christmas Party, featuring the Union Square Five. That is what the whole entire moniker of this thing is. So, The Christmas Party, featuring the Union Square Five. So, I got to do my research. I got to figure out, what is this? Who are the Union Square Five? I'm thinking, is that like Manhattan Transfer? Really dating myself on that one. But is that like some kind of jazz group that sat in with them or something? So I do umpteen, I don't know if that's a number or not, but you know what it is, infinite, whatever, searches on the Union Square Five and come up completely empty. Nothing. There's nothing. It's taken me to information about routes on like New York bus stops and bus stations, bus lines and train lines and stuff. So, and that makes sense. Union Square sounds like it would be like a bus stop or a train station or something. So the Union Square Five, my best guess is that it's them just screwing around and doing some kind of inside joke. It's just a bunch of studio musicians that sat in with them. Because there's nothing to it. So I think it's just an inside joke. It's just them and a handful of their friends that actually appeared on the album, and they're just calling themselves some funky name to send people like me off on a search that ends up going nowhere, and I can't get any information. So anyway, the name of the song is The Christmas Party. Basically it's a jazzy medley of a bunch of Christmas songs, like a bunch of the songs that that didn't make the cut as far as being individual songs on this album. So they put together, I don't know, 6-7 songs here, and do instrumental versions of them all, and it's a medley that just goes from one into the next to the next. So it starts out with It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year, goes to the Christmas song, Jingle Bells, Winter Wonderland, Frosty the Snowman, Linus and Lucy, and yes, Baby, It's Cold Outside. We get the date rape song from 1944. So this is what I gotta say. In 1944, pretty sure that wasn't what this song was written about. It maybe wasn't a harmless song. I'm not gonna say it was harmless, but it certainly didn't have the entire connotation that people are assigning to it now, that's saying it should be banned and whoever wrote it should probably be dug up out of his grave and lynched or whatever, and his family should not be making any royalties, and all the controversy about that. Let it go. Let it go, let it go, let it go. It's not that serious. It's like, okay, it might have some lyrics that didn't age well, but it's not that serious. Let's not lose sleep over Baby, It's Cold Outside. So yeah, they did it on here too. And this came out in 2021, so it is very current into the, political climate where that song was already getting criticized, like 10, 12 years ago. So they chose to put it on here in an instrumental version, so the lyrics aren't there. The risque body, if you will, the body lyrics aren't there. Because this whole Christmas Party 10th song is all instrumental. So I am glad that they put it on there. So that's just me, because I like to push the envelope. So it's an all jazzy sound. What it reminded me of? I would always go to my son Sean's Christmas assembly at school every year, and he played the clarinet, and they would do their Christmas concert every year, and I would always go every year. And that's what this sounds like. This just sounds like a bunch of people having fun, jamming, and ad-libbing all kinds of crowd noise in the background stuff. There's all kinds of crowd noise from the, dozen or so people that are performing on here. The Union Square Five, if you will. But there's crowd noise in the background. There's no singing, so you could really hear, any of the sound that they were talking and making all kinds of comments and stuff in the background. You could hear all that. No Johnny and no Robbie singing here. So it just a pleasant medley of songs, and like I said, it brought me back to a really good place. The fond memories of going to my son's Christmas concerts every year at his high school. So the Christmas Party, the 10th song to wrap up the album. So here is what I will say about this album. Going into this, I had literally listened to this album once because as a Goo Goo Dolls fan, I was obliged to buy this album because it's them and it's my guy singing, and I like everything about them and all of his singing and all of everything about them. I'm buying it. So I bought the album, listened to it once, got my fill, and put it on the stack. So listening to it now for the purposes of this, pleasant album, but I do consider it a novelty album. I'm not going to go back and listen to it. It's not joining my regular rotation of Goo Goo Dolls albums that I'll listen to. The one song, yeah, great. It's not offensive. It's acceptable. I look at it as an acceptable business move that they did a Christmas album and sold however many copies they sold. Just like Mariah, just like Paul McCartney, John Lennon, all the people I cited earlier. They're legendary. Johnny Cash had a freaking Christmas album. So it's got his great voice. Robbie only sings one song, the one song instrumental. So Johnny Resnick sings 8 out of 10 songs. So it works. It works. I get one of my favorite singers, yes, singing some Christmas standards, but then some original songs too. So, and I forgot the little kid sings that one song too. So actually there's only 7 out of 10 are Johnny songs. So, but still a good percentage, 70%. I can do that math in my head. So I won't listen to it on constant rotation, but what I will say is there's nothing embarrassing or horrible about this album or anything like that. It easily could and should be getting airplay at Christmas time on these Christmas stations. You got even the local radio, even the local FM radio in Chicago, and I'm sure most of the major markets. There's a station that does nothing but play Christmas songs for this entire month. So that station should be playing this stuff. XM, any of those stations should be playing this stuff. I don't get why they're not. Goo Goo Dolls are a big enough band where they're Grammy Award winning and have had dozens of top 10 singles and top 10 albums and so on. So I don't get it. I don't get why it's not there. It should be there. But anyway, a good Christmas album if you're into that kind of thing. So I recommend picking up, if you still have some time, get It's Christmas All Over, download it so you can listen to it in the holiday season, which we are in the midst of. So that is it. Thank you, Record Store Nation, for joining us for this special traditional Christmas episode. We will be back in January. I wish everybody happy holidays. Hopefully you don't get coal in your stocking like the kid who pierced the dog's ear rather. Have a great holiday. Enjoy your time with your time off. Hopefully, being in retail, I don't get much time off this time of year. It's pretty hardcore. So, but everybody else, and those of you who are in retail, I feel for you because I've been there. And servers, I've been there. I have not been there, but I feel for you because I'm there in the retail aspect of it. So, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you, Brian, for producing. Thank you to the Goo Goo Dolls for yet another great album. Even though it's a novelty album, it's still a good album. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you for contributing to Patreon so much this year and keeping me in the ramen soup. I truly do appreciate it. We make jokes about the ramen soup, but I do truly appreciate your contributions. It keeps the lights on and it keeps us doing these things that we love doing, which is the Record Store podcast for me and the wrestling podcast that Brian and I and others do on the network. So thank you guys. Have a great holiday season. Happy New Year. Merry New Year, as they say, or Happy New Year. And whatever you celebrate, enjoy it healthy with your family and your friends, and we will see you in January at the Record Store. Stay tuned. If you're a Patreon, stay tuned. You're going to get to hear my favorite song on the album. See you guys next